Hi guys, hope you're doing amazingly well. First off, I'd like to say that I'm sorry that I wasn't as consistent as I had promised in the first video that I did. I definitely said that I was going to continue to make certain that I would be posting on time about different things, etc. And that was my full intention. And in fact, I did make other videos concerning other things and was getting ready to post them. Sorry, I don't know what is going on, but something's in my nose. We are not picking nose on pet camera, okay? And this is not picking nose. It's just, getting it together. So, yeah, I had made a couple of videos that I had wanted to post, but I didn't, as you've seen. And it just felt like I couldn't post stuff and I couldn't be as active on my social media until I was completely authentic and honest with what is going on in my life currently as of right now. So for many of you that are friends, coworkers, acquaintances, or even just people who are fans now and like to watch me, a lot of people who are close to me, i.e. my friends, family, coworkers, are aware already of what's taken place in my life within the last couple of weeks. On July 3rd, my dad passed away in the hospital. And so it's been extremely, extremely hard, as you would. Sorry, I think my phone was saying that it's low battery. So as you can imagine, it's been really hard. Just going through that grieving process. He was the only father figure I knew. For a lot of people that are close to me, and a lot of you coworkers that I tell a lot of my business, you'll know that I call my grandpa really, my dad. He's the only father figure I've ever known in my whole entire life. As soon as I was born, he was the one who has raised me. And so I don't really have a relationship with my father. I've seen him maybe twice in my life. We don't text, we don't call, we don't talk, nothing. So there's no relationship there. So when I refer to my, grandpa as my father, is because he's the only father figure I've ever known. He raised me in the same household since the day I came out of the womb, okay? And for a lot of you that know, that kind of follow my Instagram, etc., I always was posting about him when we'd go to the nursing home. He had, dementia, Alzheimer's, a couple of other things too as well. And he was supposed to be turning 90 in September. And he was a strong man. He's been through a lot, from the earliest of his upbringing, or, earliest of his beginnings. He raised himself as a young child. He left school and went to work as a young child. And I'm saying young as in 10 years old. And he's worked for everything in his life. Worked so hard for everything. Came to this country and worked very, very hard. Bought and paid off his house, etc. And so I always thought of him as this strong man growing up. Growing up, I always he was my superhero, and my parents in general were my superheroes. Because when you see them when you're younger, you're like, man, they're so strong. There's nothing that could ever take them out. And you always thought of yourself as, if anybody's gonna go, if anybody's gonna pass, if anybody's gonna die, it's gonna be us first, not them. And then you get older, and you start to see them get older, and then you start to see that this strong character who's still a strong superhero in your life is going down a little bit. And so for the last 6-7 years, he's been going through some health scenarios. He had cancer as well, which he was on chemo and all these other things. This was years ago, before 6-7 years ago. It went down, and they were just monitoring it every 6 months. But then the dementia started, and then he had prostate issues for a while, and all these other things. And so but he always made it through all those things. My dad is a man that like years ago, he had ulcer burst in him. He had his appendix burst. All these things, and that's what I'm talking about when I talk about my dad and how strong he was. And so he went into the hospital July 1st, and infection and low hemoglobin, and it kind of got more severe. He was losing a lot of blood, and then he passed on Sunday, July 3rd. It was so crazy because on Sunday, July 3rd, when we went to go see him, he looked so good compared to the night before when family had gone to go see him. And we were so comforted. You're comforted in knowing and feeling that like he's gonna be okay. And then the call came at 11:30 p.m. Sunday, July 3rd, that he had passed. And it was such a shocker. It was such a shocker because we had just seen him earlier and he was good. And a lot of people say that, when people are passing, they get like this burst of energy, and, all the loved ones come around and they're able to see the loved ones. And when they have seen all of them, they go, okay, it's time. And when you're not around, they go, okay, it's time for their final breath. And so I know how my dad was. And even when he was sick with anything, he never liked to tell people. He never liked to share his pain, because he doesn't like fuss over him. And he was a man that, since he raised himself, he realized that like pain will pass, sickness will pass, I'll get over it. I don't need to tell anybody about it. And that's how he was. And that's how he lived his life. And so I think about the way how he passed, and he didn't want to show us while he passed that he was in any type of pain, which they said that he wasn't, but he didn't want to show us that like he wanted to leave when he looked his best. And that's how he always lived his life, and that's how he passed on into the next life. And so it's been interesting. I've had friends who have passed away. I've had family who have passed away. I've been sad for them as well too. I'm not saying that I haven't, but with the grieving process now, I think it's been a while since I've had to grieve for anybody, and it being my dad, that father figure that's no longer on the earth for me anymore. It feels like a big void. He had taught me a lot of lessons, and I think it's crazy because you think about those lessons now that they've passed, and you kind of think about your life, and you're saying, have you applied yourself? Have you taken any of those lessons while they were living and applied them really to your life? And I think about a lot of them, and I'm like, no, I haven't. My dad wasn't a procrastinator. He wasn't lazy at all. He believed in really hard work ethic, and that's maybe where I get my work ethic from. He believed in getting up and doing anything for yourself, never relying on people, And I think he got that from the fact that he had to raise himself. So the only person he could rely on is himself. And so that is why he always knew that if he banked on himself, he could always bank on himself, because he always knew that he could get it done based off how he's got it done from years and years. That's what I kind of learned in his passing. I'm like, you can't rely on people. You have to rely on yourself to get things done. You want anything done for yourself? Get it done by yourself. You know what I mean? And I would definitely going to take a lot of the things that he taught me and really apply them to every area of my life, so that I can take him with me. And so that I will always remember him in everything that I do. I remember when I had gotten the call that he was kind of severe in the hospital, and I was at my friend's wedding. I just grabbed Nikki and Crystal and Vicky and Rosa, like my close girlfriends, and I brought them to the back of the wedding, outside of the reception, and I told them what had happened, and I broke down. I broke down so much in front of them, and they called me an Uber, and I left. And ever since then, and the whole grieving process, it's been up and down. Some days I feel good, some days I don't feel that great. Within the last 2 weeks, I believe it was the hardest for me. There was moments even when I went back to work last week that I broke down in front of people, or broke down by myself. As soon as the evening came, I started to feel a lot more emotions. And I do welcome that. I am a person that I don't shy away from crying. I don't shy away from crying in front of other people. I have no problem with that. And so but with the grieving, it was interesting, because I remember I went to the gym this one day, and I went, and it was probably too soon, because I think it was a couple days after he'd passed. And I remember walking in the gym, and I felt like, I felt like so angry that the world couldn't stop for just 1 second so that I could grieve. Like, why can't the world just stop so that I can grieve in peace, and so that everybody can just stop while I'm going through this? And I remember thinking and seeing all these people doing all their regular day things, and I thought to myself, wow, they don't even know what I'm going through. And it's like, I felt jealous. Like, how dare you get to keep your loved one, but mine is gone. And that part really was something I had to really go through. That was really hard. And I remember I was in tears, and I had to leave the gym because I was like, I can't do this. I went to the store one time, and I had that same feeling. And I think it's normal to feel that way, because when bad things happen all the time in the world, we almost wonder, like, why doesn't the world stop for 1 second? Like, why does it continue to move while all these things happen? But I think it's also a lesson for yourself to know that the world keeps turning, and that means that, yes, you may be going through your things and everything like that, but it's to show you that things will still go on. And if the world stopped every single time something happened, we wouldn't get anywhere. You know what I mean? And so you can go through what you're going through and take that time to learn and all those other things. And when you are at the place of when you can take what you've learned, apply it to yourself, and then come back into your regular behavior or whatever you were doing before, your regular routine, you can do so, because the world will be still moving, right? You can jump on anytime you want, and then you can also jump off too as well, and take time too as well. And that's what kind of went in my head, and I'm like, yes, no, definitely. So you go through those stages of grief, you know what I mean? And then you go through these stages of grief where you feel like, okay, today is a really good day, right? And today is a good day. And it's not that you're not remembering them, but you're like, okay, today's a good day. And then you have these moments where you're like, why are you enjoying yourself? Your loved one is gone. How dare you go on and enjoy and laugh and have a moment for yourself? You get those feelings as well, and then you feel guilty, and then that makes you sad because that person's not here anymore. And then you feel like, why have I taken off my mind off this loved one when I should stay on them all the time and everything like that? But that's not normal either. But that's a part of the grieving as well too. You feel that guilt and stuff as well. And then there's moments where you laugh of how they lived. I know how my dad is, and I know that even during this process, he would be mad at us if we were making all this fuss and not getting things done. He would be mad at us because he was a man that was like, get up and get things done. Get up and continue. Go on, carry on. Like, what are you doing? Like, okay, you're sad about that? That was yesterday. What are you doing today? Hurry up, go. That's how he was as a person. I'm definitely giving myself time to grieve 100%. But every day I learn something different. And I know I'm going to have moments in the future where I might have a day where I just kind of break down, and that's completely fine. But like the tools that I've built from the time he's passed up till now, and the tools I'll build, going ahead, will help me to realize that those moments are important too, and you take time in those moments, and you reflect and let those emotions come through, and you feel everything and let them come forth. Don't push them down. Let them have their moment, because you need to have that moment, right? And so that's why, like, I think this is important times, because those times will come, and it's important that, like, every single day, I wake up, and if I feel good, I just go with the day. I just get things done, because that's what you should do. Because the days will come when it'll be hard, or the moments of the days will be hard, where you're thinking about everything and you're experiencing those emotions, and you have to push yourself that much harder to get things done while you're dealing with those emotions. And so, yeah, I'm going through that. The family is doing a lot better. And we're all handling the grief differently, but I think we all are getting better. My mother is doing well. You know, she's a very spiritual person. And I feel like her faith, you know, has taught her how to deal with grief and loss and, you know, loss and death and stuff. And so that has helped her get through this time. But I just can't imagine how, you know, she feels, you know, right now in terms of, and it makes me sad because sometimes I think about the fact that they've been together for more than 50 years. They've been in Canada for more than 40 years. This person that you created this life, you know, you came to Canada, you had these children, and you had all these other things that you had to work out. And you had that person with you all this time. And that life partner is no longer here on this earth with you. I can't imagine how that feeling feels. And so a lot of times I hurt because I just think about what she must be going through, but she's handling it very, very well. And she's getting through it, and she has her moments in the day, and she is good for the rest of the day, and she handles it really good, and she has a lot of support from her family, obviously her friends, her brethren, you know, from church and stuff like that. She has so much support, and so we're getting through this time. But like, I'm a person too that I wanted to be forthcoming with what's going on in my life, because I would much rather, because I know a lot of people used to ask me how my dad was doing. A lot of you guys, the outpouring of support that I used to get for my dad, you know, people would ask me randomly, like, how's your dad doing? And so I realized that, and I said, I need to get ahead of this. So that's why I was kind of getting around and telling everybody, hey, my dad has passed. I wanted to let you know that, because the next time that they ask me, I would much rather them say, hey, how are you doing? And how is your family doing during this time since your dad's passing, rather than, hey, how's your dad doing, Dion? And then after it's a different emotion, right? Because then now I have to like go back and relive, and kind of like, it brings that back up in a way of where I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, actually he passed away, rather than, you know, we're doing better, we're getting there, thank you for your support and kind words. So he hasn't been laid to rest yet. We're having the funeral at the end of this month, July 30th. So, you know, that's gonna be another emotional time, that day, the day up to that day, and then the days afterwards. And so it's gonna be a process, and then the birthday is gonna be coming up in September. So that's gonna be a process, and all of those family orientated, like, you know, holidays, sorry, the words are not coming to me right now. That's gonna be a moment. But I remember him in such a great way. He taught me a lot of things. You know, he showed love in so many different ways, that in the only ways that he knew how to, you know what I mean? Because I mean, again, as I said before, my dad raised himself, right? So he didn't have a parental figure. His grandmother died at a very young age, and she was very sick at his young age, and he had to take care of her, and he had no other parental figure otherwise. And so he taught himself all these things. So he did his best as a parent, he really did, and he showed us love in ways of, like, you know, he was that, you know, provider, and that, like, you know, making sure the house was good and all these things were good, and he supported us in a lot of other ways that I, you know, realize now, and I knew then. And a lot of times when he would want to teach us how to do certain kind of things, I'd be like, oh my God, I don't want to do it, because I had no interest. But I think that was his way of showing love too. Like, come outside and let me teach you this, because that's what he knew best. And so that's what he wanted to pass off to his, you know, children, because that's how he showed his love, through that, right? Through him teaching you how to, like, survive, teaching you how to do things for yourself. You know what I mean? You know, my dad was a man that, you know, if you told him something, that something needed to get done, or we're gonna start doing something maybe this week for the house or something like that, even sometimes when he didn't want to, he had no interest in it, the next day or that following night, he would get it done. We've had countless appliances in this house that have broken, and you know, we've got new ones or anything like that, and we'd say, you know, Dad, tomorrow is, you know, when Mom would say, Dad, tomorrow is when the fridge is coming, for example. And I paid the people at Sears, say at that time, when Sears was around, to come and pick up the old refrigerator, bring it outside, and put in the new one. Dad would, by the end of the night, take out everything out of the fridge, bring that fridge down by himself while we were sometimes asleep, and it's outside ready for the person to pick up in the morning. And when you wake up in the morning, you go into the fridge and you're like, hey, why is all the stuff out? Oh yeah, I already put out the fridge outside. We're like, well, why did you do that by yourself? Like, we don't understand. Right? That was a really strong guy too as well, very strong guy. That same thing would happen with the dryer, the washing machine, anything that you told him. You probably a lot of times shouldn't have told him anything, because he would start doing it. Dad, we're getting new carpet, or new carpet this week. He would start ripping up the carpet before the new carpet came. That's how he was as a man, and that's how he showed his love to, everybody around him. And he was a man he didn't talk much, because he always felt that he never wanted what he said to be misconstrued. And nobody can misconstrue you on anything if you are simple with the way you speak. Not a lot of words, not a lot of all those things. That's how he was, which is very smart. My friends always knew him as the man in the window, because my dad retired, obviously because he was older. And so basically he was at home most of the time. And when he was at home, before dementia hit and before a lot of these things hit where we had to kind of put him in a nursing home, he would be at home and people would drop me off. Even when we were kids, we'd walk home to my house and they'd be like, oh, there's your dad. People knew him as Mr. Malachi. Mr. Malachi, he's always, always the man in the window or the man at the door. And then they drop me off, my friends would drop me off, and he'd come downstairs and open the door for me all the time. And so that's how he showed his love, and I'm gonna miss him dearly. But it's interesting. I talked to a friend, one of my good friends, Tanisha Cherry. She also has a YouTube channel, so check her out, Tanisha Cherry, and Instagram and all of that. I talked to her about loss, and grieving and stuff like that. And she definitely shared with me in a voice note about the fact that, you get to a point when you're grieving that, and maybe I'm not at that point yet, but I'm just sharing the point that you realize you didn't really lose anything. You still have the memories. You still have all the times, all the other lessons they taught you. We just get hung up on losing the physical form of somebody, which is completely fine, because everybody wants to keep that person so that you can go and touch and feel and grab and hug and whatever. But you haven't lost anything, because they're always with you. They're always going to be in all your memories. And if you take them in everything you do, you can't lose them. And I might not be at that place as yet, because it's still very fresh, but it made me think about what the future of my grieving will look like. And that gave me hope. That gave me hope of, how I will internalize all of this, and compartmentalize all of this. And, I plan to take him everywhere I go. It's weird that, he passed. And you almost feel, when people pass, especially when they're close to you, you almost feel like this rush of get everything done while you're here. Accomplish everything while you can. Because my dad, he accomplished absolutely everything that he wanted to do in his life. Absolutely everything. He came here, he bought his house, he worked, he had these kids, he did all of these things for him in his life. He was very content and happy with his life prior to dementia. And why I say prior to dementia and Alzheimer's is because that's when he was able to remember and he was enjoying his life. He was content with everything that was around him. He wasn't dissatisfied. He was happy with what he had amassed in his years of being in Canada or even being on this planet, you know. And what I take away from, you know, the loss of somebody is, will you be content? Will you be happy? Like when you pass, because we're all gonna pass at one point in this life, it is pointed onto every man that he shall die. But when you pass, and if you're able to look back at your life, are you gonna be happy? Sorry, my throat. Are you gonna be happy with what you amassed or what you did or what you left? Are you gonna feel like I left no stone unturned? I completed all the tasks, all the things I wanted to do. You have to live life and a life like that. You have to live a life like that. And I want to model my life like that now. But yeah, just want to share with you guys, and expect to see a lot more from me now on all my things and all my socials and stuff. I plan to release a couple videos. But thank you for watching. Sorry, I've got this cough now. I don't know what's going on. My God. That's better. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, because you need to subscribe to this video. Well, subscribe to my channel, sorry. You need to like this video. Leave a comment. Tell me how you have dealt with, or, you know, your loss, or like how you've grieved. Also, make certain that you follow me on TikTok, Lord Dion. Make sure that you follow me on Instagram, Lord Dion. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Lord Dion. And of course, subscribe, hit the bell so that you can always get notified as soon as I release a video. I know this one is a pretty long one. Did not intend for it to go this long, but it's a free-flowing conversation, right? And I'm taking it all in one take. And I'm not gonna edit it. So I'm not gonna edit it. None of that. Sorry, I think my phone is like dying. It's dying right now. It's like 10% left or whatever. But yeah, thank you for watching the video, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. I'm trying to find a certain kind of thing to say when I do an outro, and girl, we have not found it yet. But I will see you next time, child.